Welcome back to the Socialist Star YouTube channel, and I wish that I could say the world has improved since the last time that I posted a video on this channel, but I think the world has gotten categorically, apocalyptically, much worse, because Donald Trump is attempting to abolish the Department of Education. And you know, it's funny because Project 2025 said that they were going to do this. Republicans, specifically idiotic conservatives who just were going with the vibes of the party, said that he's not gonna do that stuff, and here it is. He's doing that stuff. Now, yes, technically he cannot abolish the Department of Education. That requires Congress. However, he can kneecap it so bad it's basically worthless. And it affects a lot more than you think. So let's get into it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so we can get this channel to, I don't know, as someone recently commented, 1,000 subscribers, maybe more. That would be freaking awesome. And I can focus more on informing you guys as well as keeping you up to date on things, which, honestly, considering one of the comments of the previous videos, with Dr. Umar, I genuinely got a fuzzy feeling in my stomach when I read that comment, because it was awesome to see someone say that the things that I provided were not only just digestible, but also informative and will help them better explain to other people the reasons for their dislike of someone or their distrust of someone. And for me, that's huge. That's huge. Did I cry? I'm not going to tell you that. That's not your business, damn it. Okay? But there was a tissue that was used. You can suck it, all right?
Don't be such a pussy. Okay.
Moving on.
With that, I'm going to come down and we're going to sign a very important document, and we're going to be on our way. People have wanted to do this for many years, for many decades.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
And I don't know, no president ever got around to doing it, but I'm getting around to doing it, so thank you very much. Good-looking people here. Should I do this?
No, nigga!
Children watching off to the side and signing their own fucking death warrants, which is like psychotic if you think about it. We have gotten rid of the authority of the Department of Education. And like I said in the opening, technically Donald Trump cannot dismantle it. That is an authority held by Congress. However, no matter what news channels and other stuff say I don't know if you noticed, Republicans have a majority in both houses of fucking Congress. Meaning, if they wanted to, they could get rid of this. And some idiot probably saying now, yeah, let's get rid of the Department of Education. Make it state-based. Fucking cool. Fucking vibes. Awesome. You're just a lefty whiny crybaby. Bitch, I'm no longer in the Department of Education, okay? As you can see, I'm a full-grown ass adult. However, your kids, if you are lucky enough to have them and can realize that your left hand does not count as a woman and you need to get out and touch grass and talk to someone.
Holy shit!
This is not good at all. There are several things that dismantling the Department of Education will affect. Biggest of all, funding, okay? And I don't mean in the sense of saying that the Department of Education was already pretty well funded and that each state had a very good education system. No, they don't. Each state is very different because their dispersion of their resources for the Department of Education is very different. Department of Education in each state basically runs majority of the Department of Education in each state. Not to sound like a broken fucking record, but a shit ton of funding those departments get quite literally comes from the Department of Education for the federal government. And if Trump is dismantling that, all those programs have to go away. Now, in some places they won't, such as the rich areas, because a lot of states use tax revenue gathered from the surrounding areas around the school, which I don't know if you've ever been to, per se, a low-income area of a city or a rural area. The school's not that good. But if you go to north of the tracks, the school's fucking amazing. Why is that? Because tax revenue. Tax revenue is how these schools are basically built and their initial setup, right? The rest is through federal funding. And federal funding for most low-income areas is basically a godsend. And it's not just K through 12. No, it gets much, much worse. So neotoday.org, how dismantling the Department of Education would harm students. Trump administration taking a wrecking ball to the Department of Education. I mean, the moment McMahon's wife was the nominee is like that was just the sign that this was not gonna be good. I mean, what the does she know about education?
Not a damn thing.
So yeah, he signed this executive order, which again, this was in Project 2025, and that's the most annoying fucking part of it. Countless people said this shit is going to happen, and Republicans trying to basically save face, coping with the fact that their reality was just wrong. We're like, no, it's good. It ain't gonna turn the way you think it is. I know not all conservatives sound like that, but fucking roll with it, okay? He signed an executive order on March 20th. Dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. So over the past 2 months, the White House has issued reckless, destructive, and even illegal directives to destabilize public schools and target some of our most vulnerable students. They include stripping schools of critical funding, launching national school voucher programs, which if you don't know what that is, give you a quick rundown. Charter schools, private schools. That's literally what it is. For K through 12. It's vouchers for people who can afford to send their children to those schools, which have tuition costs for fucking kindergarten. What? Okay, and then the kid still comes out stupid as fuck and can't count the fucking 10, despite paying, I don't know, $8,000, $10,000 a semester for kindergarten. What the fuck? It's vouchers for them to get tax, like rebates and shit, or even cover the cost of it. So it's funny enough, it's literally doing what the Department of Education does, but for rich people who don't need the help, who chose to send their children to a school that costs more than a public school, which would be zero. They made the choice. You should pay for that choice. You can afford to pay for that choice. I have no problem with a voucher program if schools are taking students that would not normally be able to choose to go to those schools, but that's not the case here. And I also, as a socialist, think that such schools should not fucking exist. The Department of Education on a federal level should be the primary directive for education in this country. It's one of the reasons why Mississippi is so far down on the fucking list and is full of a bunch of dumbasses. Respectfully, it's because Mississippi leaders run Mississippi schools. They just use mostly federal funding to do so. Imagine if the federal government said, fuck you.
Stay here. I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
It would change almost overnight, but whatever. Providing more funding and less oversight for private charter operations. Why do they need more funding? They're private. They are for fucking profit. Why is everyone else's fucking tax dollars going to some shit none of us can damn near fucking afford? And none of us are getting those voucher programs. I'm telling you right now, ask anyone near you that is going to a fucking private school if they've heard of these fucking voucher programs. 9 times out of 10, fuck no. They might have gone for through a scholarship, which through a scholarship for a K through 12 fucking school, not college, not community college, not a trade school where you're 2 years away from being a fucking plumber or an HVAC guy. No, for kindergarten, for 3rd grade, when there are still some kids who wet the fucking bed. What the fuck are we paying thousands upon thousands upon thousands and then adding more thousands and thousands upon thousands to K through fucking 12. We are such an unserious country. And greenlighting immigration and customs enforcement raids on public schools, which, fuck you. Like, no. You're gonna go kidnap fucking Eduardo from fucking History of America 102? Honestly, yeah, actually, that might be saving him, because it's just whitewash history anyways. At least he can go somewhere else, in a different country, somewhere where the education system is 10 times better, despite the economy not having even remotely half the fucking potential. So, yeah, maybe that one is the only one that is actually somewhat slightly beneficial. Just don't forget, ICE, to take their fucking parents with them, because, you know, separating families is not a fucking cool thing, and you guys do it all the time. Despite the administration's use of divisive and inaccurate rhetoric about the public schools systems, the true agenda is clear: taking a wrecking ball to public schools, inflicting damage on millions of low-income students across the country in the process to pay for tax handouts for a billionaire. That's what all this is. Trump is literally destroying the federal government, so that way, when the next fucking tax rollout comes, he can give billionaires the max fucking tax breaks. They're going to fucking quite literally pay nothing in taxes, because they're basically saying the federal government should not help you at all, except defend the country's borders. Other than that, you're on your fucking own. That's what they're literally saying. It's up to your state to determine whether you have fucking clean air. It's up to your state whether your kid can fucking count to fucking 10. It's up to your state whether the fucking highway connecting you to another state fucking works or not. It's up to your state whether planes are falling out of the fucking sky because we defunded the fucking people who track the goddamn weather and the people who direct the fucking planes in the air. It's up to your state whether you live or not. Like, I know that local elections are very, 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 very fucking important. But I'm sorry, I don't trust a shit ton of Americans to make the right decision to ensure that all of this shit will just work out. The moment you get into an area that's red, you find people who don't even know what the fuck the actual Second Amendment says. 90% of the U.S. students and 95% of students with disabilities learn in our public schools. Students across the country benefit from programs run by the Department of Education. Guiding the department, National Education Association President Becky Pringle said, would mean less resources for our most vulnerable students, larger class sizes, fewer special education services for students with disabilities, and less civil rights protections. Americans did not vote for and do not support, she added, ending the federal government's commitment to ensuring educational opportunities for every child. Honestly, all this stuff, probably for most people, they're just like, this is fear-mongering and all this stuff. What is it actually affecting? You claim it's gonna fucking hurt me. You claim it's going to destroy my existence. Okay, let's get into it. Title I, which directs money to schools with high concentrations of students living in poverty and provides support such as reading specialists and smaller class sizes, could be decimated. As proposed in Project 2025, it is turned into block grants and handed over to individual states without any sort of accountability or oversight. So those states are going to basically shift all that money to all the white schools. I'm telling you right now, you're going to see it. It's just going to happen. Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Virginia, West Virginia, South Carolina, hell, even my own fucking state, North Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, fucking Louisiana, Georgia, Texas, fucking literally just all across the country. We're about to see white schools get a shit ton of funding. Schools that are in areas with a high average income are about to get a shit ton of funding. Why? Because they're about to do just like they did in the 60s, just like they did in the 50s, just like they did in the 40s and the 30s. They're going to snatch it from the low income area schools and say, oh, it's not like you had a future anyways, right? You were gonna be a fucking busboy anyways. You were gonna fucking work in the kitchen anyways. It's not like you had a future anyways. Just know this: when your parents tell you, okay, if there's anyone watching that's in K through 12, which, holy fuck, sorry. Like, I don't know why I'm on your algorithm, but I guess it's better than skibbity fucking toilet. To those watching that are in K through 12, if your parents tell you that you can be anything you want to be, they're fucking lying. That has just officially become bullshit. Like, there is no amount of hard work that you can do after all this fucking bullshit, because It's bullshit. And if you're a parent of someone in K through 12 and you tell your kids that, I hope the shot you took afterwards when you realized that was bullshit was strong enough. According to an analysis by the Center for American Progress, teaching positions could be lost, affecting 2.8 million students in low-income communities. Roughly 7.5 million students, or 15% of the student population, receive special education under the Individuals with Disability Education Act, which provides $15 billion to support students with disabilities. This program could be transferred to another agency, making it significantly less likely that students with disabilities receive the services and support they need and deserve. So, if you struggled to take tests as a kid and you had a special education plan, SEP, developed for you that would allow you to take tests in an easier environment because it was just, I don't know, you had some sort of issue. This affects that. This gets rid of that. But not just that, it gets even worse. This affects the kids that are mentally challenged compared to others and still have a right to an education, because they do. If you think they don't, there's a thing you can do.
Go fuck yourself.
So instead of them being able to come to a school and get an education, just like the fucking rest of us, and show that just because they have these issues does not mean that they cannot be a positive for society. You don't know whether that person's happy or not. You don't know what that person can do. You don't know how smart that person is. These programs allowed a part of that to show forth. And now they're gone for a ton of people. 7.5 million, 15% of students. And sure, you might say not all of those are those people.
Who say to me, stick to civil rights, I have another answer. Others can do what they want to do. That's their business. Other civil rights leaders, for various reasons, refuse or can't take a stand or have to go along with the administration. That's their business. But I must say tonight that I know that justice is indivisible. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Even if it wasn't all, even if it was just like 1 million and now that's gone, that is an injustice that's fucking ridiculous. And yeah, the rest could be SCP, and someone could say, yeah, the fuck you need a special room to take a test for. And it's just like, the fact that you have to ask that question shows that you would have taken advantage of a special room to take a fucking test and it would have actually benefited you, but you couldn't because it didn't exist. The Department of Education is a relatively new thing. It's 1979. Jimmy Carter did this shit. Holy fuck. Many expect the White House to move the Education Department's Office for Civil Rights to the Department of Justice, a move that would severely weaken its ability to protect students against discrimination based on race, gender, and disability. The absence of strong federal oversight would leave millions of students vulnerable to discrimination, leading to lower levels of motivation and academic achievement and a higher risk of dropping out. So essentially, if a high schooler comes out as, gay or whatever, and yes, it can happen, conservatives, it can. Trust me, I would know. I had some thoughts. I just didn't fucking approach those thoughts because I had a lot of shit going on when I was in high school involving my family, and that was more of my focus, and graduating. And I was also socially a little bit awkward, and while I could fit into pretty much all my friend groups, I, did not explore much when it comes to relations in high school because I was weird, like most kids in high school. Weird as fuck, confused as fuck. But I can tell you one thing, there were several of my male classmates that when I saw them, it was awkward in more places than those you could see.
Whoa, hey.
So that means in this case, with something like that, if a student was to come out in high school and say they were, they got a racket and tennis balls and they want a racket and tennis balls, they could get discriminated against, and there's no protection against them or for them against that. Or say you have a student who is trans, can get discriminated against that. Or you have a student, which again, once we're going back to the 7.5 million, who has a disability. It could be heavy impacting as cerebral palsy. It could be as light impacting as a little bit of dyslexia. They're going to get discriminated against. And you might say, each state will protect these people. Are you serious? Half of the Midwest literally fucking tried to pass anti-trans in sports legislations when there was a grand total of like 7 trans athletes in fucking high school sports across the entire country. You had like 11 or 12 fucking states that were genuinely trying to fucking pass legislation that said 7 people couldn't play sports. And you think they're going to protect people with disabilities, which compose a shit ton of Americans. The education department, and this is the big one. This is the one that I think most people will get upset about. And unfortunately, even though the previous ones were quite literally more or less returning us to the civil rights era fucking education departments, more or less telling people with disabilities that you're not a person, and more or less telling poor people, don't worry, your life is already set. You were supposed to be poor, you were born poor, you will be poor. That's what the previous ones in the summation said. But this is the one that I think most people are going to be pissed off about, because the way people focus is very selfish. So let's get into the selfish way this fucking affects you. The education department also administers Pell Grants, federal student loans, and loan repayment and forgiveness programs. 30% of U.S. college students rely on these federal loans to pay their tuition. Students and families could lose this support, leading to more students dropping out, fewer choices, and fewer options for families. In other words, did you get FAFSA money? You probably won't. Give it about 2 years and it'll be gone.
And it's gone.
So yeah, if you got a kid who's in fucking 8th grade and they've got, illusions to go to your alma mater, or they're going to be the first in their family to go to college and get a degree, or they're going to continue in your field, say you're a teacher, or say you're, a fucking cop, a forensic scientist, a public lawyer, a public defendant. Say you're working a job that has shitty pay but is very, very, very fucking essential, and your children are proud of you, right? And they want to do the same thing because they have such fond attachments to the thing that you did because you inspired them. College is still fucking expensive. That's not going to change. And it's different from when you went to college because it was relatively cheaper, not super cheap, but it was relatively cheaper. Well, now you guys can't fucking afford it, right? Because again, you're working a job that is low paying. Guess what? You're gonna have to foot the bill for that in education yourself. Even if your child is wanting to do the same thing you're doing because they're so fucking proud of you. Why? Because they are getting rid of student fucking loans. And say what you want about student loans. Yes, they need to be fixed if you're just talking about keeping our main structure of society as it is. Me personally, I think all the way through the kick and fucking caboodle, education should be fucking free. You should be able to fucking go into any field you fucking want to and get the education you want. I believe that. Is that possible in this next 5 years? Fuck no. Why? Because we elected fucking Fanta Orange as our goddamn president. At the bare minimum, yes, the Department of Education's loan repayments and student loan programs and forgiveness programs needs a shit ton of work. But that work that it needs is not just cutting it. That's the easy fucking road, which is hilarious. Conservatives love to say, y'all liberals with your blue hair and your queer sexual and your rap music over here trying to trans the kids. Y'all always want to fucking end it. So yeah, this stuff is all gone. Obviously not today, but Trump has the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life working on it. And I don't give a fuck. Someone says in the comments, we're begging people on their look. They have no choice about how they look. I don't know, when your husband is worth billions of fucking dollars, you kind of have a choice on how you look. And holy fuck, did they catch this bitch at the worst possible time. Bam! I don't know if her fucking eyelash is stuck or if that's just genuinely how her eye is. And to be fair, I could be extremely overstepping a boundary here. She could have suffered from a stroke. I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm sorry. I doubt it. Billionaires, I feel like, are a different class of human being and therefore must be judged as such and do not get the same brevity as the rest of us because they have billions and billions of dollars. If your billions and billions of dollars are not enough to make you immune from bullshit that you just don't want to hear, then get over yourself. You have billions and billions of dollars. And this woman, which I'm pretty sure is a fucking lizard melting out of its goddamn skin, can get over it. Just like her one eyelid was fucking over the day.
Pow.
Imagine you're interviewing for a new role as department head and part of the job description is to shut the division down. That's what appears to be happening to Linda McMahon, President Donald Trump's pick for education secretary. I told Linda, this is Trump. I'm gonna do it. Sorry, I have to. I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job. Trump told reporters on February 4th, adding on February 12th that he wanted the Department of Education to be closed immediately. When announcing McMahon as his education secretary pick in November, Trump posted on Truth Social that one of his goals for her was to send the education back to the states. And Trump and some GOP lawmakers have said that education can be managed at the local level and that a federal agency isn't needed. We already did this before. It literally is called the Civil Rights Era. It does not work. Most people were fucking racist bigots because they were stupid as fuck. And also because they had never been to a black cookout. Black people, we kind of have to start sending out invites. I know we like to keep it cordoned off. Only specific people allowed, including an exclusion of our own people. But I think inclusion, even in our cookouts, might be a necessary thing at this point. Trump has also signed an executive order to promote patriotic education in public schools and eliminate ideologies that don't align with his politics. The Department of Education doesn't control classroom curriculum. That is your school board, I'm pretty sure, of each county that controls that, and a little bit by, of course, state requirements and whatnot. It's already not good. That's the problem. The problem is that our education department does not have one singular fucking authority, but the federal government gives a shit ton of money to all of it, when it should just have a singular fucking authority. You know what countries have, like, education departments that have a singular fucking authority? And that is why we get our ass beat by every other nation on earth. Eliminating any federal agency requires approval from Congress. While some Republican lawmakers have introduced legislation to get rid of the Department of Education, there hasn't yet been enough support to make that happen. McMahon acknowledged those mechanics during her confirmation hearing, saying that the department clearly cannot be shut down without Congress. Why in the fuck is it always these non-teacher motherfuckers that Republicans put in the position of, someone who should be a fucking teacher? At the bare minimum, a fucking professor, but preferably, a 5th grade fucking teacher should be doing this job. One of the Department of Education's primary tasks is facilitating the $1.7 trillion student loan portfolio. More than 40 million student loan borrowers hold federal loans. And the department's Federal Student Aid Office works with student loan services to manage borrowers' loan repayments. So in other words, say goodbye to income-driven student loan payments. Yeah, if fucking Fannie Mae or Sally Mae or whoever the fuck, or Advent or whatever says, bitch, we want $1,000 this month, and you say, well, bitch, I make fucking $650 this month off of my job, they're gonna say, well, motherfucker, you better pull that shit out of your ass, because we're coming. FSA is also responsible for managing ranges student loan repayment and relief programs, including the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. It develops, Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, probably also gone eventually, very soon. Are you a teacher? Guess what? Yeah, you gotta start worrying about them student loans again. You a cop? Yeah, guess what? You gotta start worrying about those student loans again. You a firefighter? Guess what? You gotta start learning about those student loans again. You a fucking nurse, a doctor? You gotta start worrying about those fucking student loan payments again. It develops the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA. I said it earlier. You could say goodbye to that bitch. Additionally, the department manages grants for U.S. public schools, including Title I funding, which gives funding to school districts in lower-income communities, along with funding for districts that teach students with disabilities. Basically, if you're not white, Christian, have a penis, and have a high chance of either being an incel or, I don't know, a closeted gay, you're not benefiting from anything that this executive order is aiming to do. The Department of Education's research arm collects data to monitor key student outcomes, including math and reading literacy scores, which are already shit, by the way, because we don't have a fucking singular command structure when it comes to our public education department. Like every other advanced nation on fucking earth. Nat Malkus, a senior fellow and the deputy director of education policy at the conservative think tank, the American Enterprise Institute. By the way, if anyone ever quotes to you the American Enterprise fucking Institute, this is a low. This is a fucking low. These are conservatives talking shit about this decision. Previously told BI that if it weren't for the Department of Education, we wouldn't even know where kids' proficiency levels stand. A conservative think tank is like, I don't know. This Department of Education kind of a little bit necessary to at least know how stupid our kids are. Fuck me, dude. The Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights is responsible for investigating discrimination complaints at K-12 schools and colleges, mostly. Most recently, the office resolved a complaint regarding anti-Palestinian discrimination on a college campus. According to the department's budget documents, the Office for Civil Rights received more than 22,000 complaints in fiscal year 2024, largely on the topics of sex-based and disability-based discrimination. I believe if more people wanted to would come forward, I believe that number would be so fucking astronomical it would blow your goddamn mind. I witnessed it in high school. I saw sex-based discrimination. I saw fucking disability-based discrimination. And you might say, yeah, but these new generations are pretty welcoming. You're right. However, these new generations also have a fuck ton of sleeper incel weirdos. I believe that number, if we're being realistic, and at least 90% of people came forward with complaints, I believe that number would probably sit somewhere about around 220,000, not 22,000. I think it is severely fucking underreported. That's not, that's obviously not a fault of the education department. That's a fault of society as a whole for our natural tendency of discrimination. While it's unclear how Trump would go about his plans to dismantle the education department, some Republican lawmakers have previously suggested shifting the department's responsibility to other federal agencies, such as having the Treasury Department oversee grants and loans. Let me make something abundantly fucking clear, okay? Anytime a politician tells you this is a money thing and it's not making us any money and it's running the government dry, and a better department that actually handles money should be doing this part of that department's job. Understand this. It is not the job of the fucking federal government to make a profit. Is not the job of the federal government to make a fucking profit. It's not a company. It's not on the Fortune 500. It's not on the fucking NASDAQ. They do not make profit when it comes to fucking terms of money. So a Department of Education that is running its own student loan program and grant program is not supposed to be this perfect working fucking thing for the Treasury Department to get completely in order and have it working pristine, which fuck me. I don't know if you noticed, Treasury Department's not good at its job fucking either. But it is not supposed to work at a fucking profit. That is why governments have authority, because they are the one entity within their territorial fucking boundaries that does not answer to a fucking shareholder. That's how this is supposed to fucking work, but it's not. This government is answering to a bunch of billionaire fucking shareholders. Like this fucking demon trying to crawl out her goddamn skin. Oh my fucking god, I've got a headache. I feel so bad for a lot of the kids that are coming up now, because essentially, like, even if, who knows, old age comes to get him right? And he has to step down or go away or whatever. And JD Vance takes his place, and he's a bumbling fucking idiot, so he's not going to do anything properly, and he'll get fucking elected out in the next cycle. Question is, can the Democrats fucking provide someone that is competent? I believe. Hell to the fuck? No. But that's a topic for a whole nother video. The thing is, all this stuff, it's gonna have impacts that last for 20 years. And I feel bad for a shit ton of kids because it's basically their education is now gonna be fraught with fucking just bullshit. And sure, all of us had an education system fraught with, you know, issues. But our teachers did their best. Our curriculums, at the bare minimum, at least gave us a little bit of fucking critical thinking. Understanding of history at least had a little bit of truth to it, and we had the means to go out and find it. These kids are going to go into their school libraries or onto the internet, to government websites where they're deleting minorities from government websites, including veterans, by the way. You know, Navajo code talkers, DOD makes no mention of them anymore. Black pilots, DOD makes no mention of them anymore. Female pilots, DOD makes no mention of them any fucking more. All of these things we had at bare minimum an access to. You could educate yourself. These kids nowadays are not going to really have that opportunity. And I don't know if you noticed, that's how dictators, that's how dictators are formed. That's how they gain power, and that's how fascist governments solidify their regime. Only problem is, solidify it all you want. By the time the cake is set, the icing has already melted. And that's where we're at. We're about to have a bunch of dumbass fucking kids. And we're about to have a lot of missed opportunities again. 1960s, 1950s shit, where the next Albert Einstein can't go to college because his family can't afford it. Do I think that Congress is going to allow the Department of Education to be completely removed entirely? I highly doubt it, but who are we kidding? Half of them are also fucking lizards melting out of their goddamn skin, just like Linda McMahon. Bitch, open the other eye!